welcome to the Queer Witch Project, your resource for all things queer and witchy. I am Damona Peacock, a fabulous, non-binary, neurospicy, ordained queerdo with a fascination for all things cycles, symbolism, and patterns.
And I'm Moonkittee, your queer femme, poly kitchen witch, and proud geek. Today's topic is witchy self-care and spellcraft.
Very, very
V-
necessary magic.
yes, and especially since right now we are going into Thanksgiving here in the US, and there are several holidays that are coming up through this holiday season that can lead to stress. So the capital S's
Yeah.
and S's and S's on the end of that. Yes, so much stress.
Which is ironic, truthfully,
Yes.
because holiday means holy day,
Hmm.
and the intention is it's supposed to be kind of outside of the norm. It's supposed to be more of a sacred occasion. You're supposed to, approach it with some reverence and, some spiritual mindedness, seeking connection or, service to your
Hmm.
community or, there's a lot of lofty things around holidays, but it's not easy for everybody. And
Mm-mm.
especially the difference between like your secular holiday traditions versus the reason behind the season can be controversial depending on your spirituality or your religious beliefs.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just sometimes it's really hard to see the family for us queer folk.
Yes. So there's familial stress. Also, it is the end of exam season for winter exams for a lot of people as well. So there's that added exam stress if you happen to be in school, or if you're not in school, but you're at the end of the year for work. Work end of year is almost always challenging with the industries that you tend to be in. So there's so much end of year stress that's just happening right now that we thought it'd be really important to give us a little bit of witchy self-care and spellcraft to kind of talk about that too.
I love it.
Hmm.
So, what's some of the best ways that we can combat stress with self-care?
So since we are witchy and queer, why not make the stuff that we do to help de-stress incorporate our magic to boost that de-stressiness, right? So the standing joke for self-care is go take a bath, right?
Right.
um
It's
or
not
get a
always
foot.
just sunshine and baths.
Right, it's not always just bath time and foot rubs, but by the same token, just like your pumpkin spice latte, don't knock those either, because soft, nice, cozy baths and foot rubs, if you like your feet being touched, and other people who don't. But if you like those kinds of things, they can be excellent self-care. They're just, again, the what people hold up as the token self-care things. But again, we've talked a lot over the years about the pumpkin spice latte and how just because it is a basic thing does not make it a bad thing, but anything else. But yeah, it's not always just bath time and foot rubs, but don't knock those either.
Yes. I love the idea of being magically minded,
Hmm.
being a practitioner of the craft. Let's use that skill
Hmm.
set knowledge as a means of self-care.
Yes.
As an intentional way of getting that self-care in when you don't necessarily have the resources or the time for the baths and the foot rubs.
Right. And I think you mentioned a key word right there is time. Sometimes, especially in the hubbub of the holidays, our lives get stressful. Like, this is the reason we're talking about this. You need to schedule time for yourself.
Yeah.
This is incredibly important, whether it's 5 minutes at the end of the day to make a cup of tea, or it's you schedule an hour for yourself every Wednesday or every third Wednesday, whatever it may be, to take some time where you can just do that. Put it on your calendar, put it in there, make it like you would any other appointment and keep it. Don't
Yeah.
don't write it off and say this is not important. No, make that time for yourself because you are just as important as everyone else around you for your needs. So get out of the hubbub, set
Hmm.
aside and schedule a time to do what you want to do. Again, ritual, whatever that ritual involves.
And that's what I was going to say is, making time for yourself to get out of the hubbub, the hustle and bustle, and experience the sacred,
Hmm.
the calmness. Sometimes the reason for the season, and it's not always about a religion or secular
Mm-hmm.
holidays, but what is your reason for connecting to this time of year? Which brings me to, what traditions do you want to keep? What are your traditions that you want to practice? You don't have to fall in line with what your family did or
Mm-mm.
what the culture secularly does this time of year. If it doesn't resonate with you, what are your holy traditions? What is your sacred
Mm-hmm.
moment? What is sacred to you? What, it could be making a meal and feeding family and not celebrating colonialism and genocide. But like, what are your traditions? What are your holy days? Make those your holidays. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to follow the recipe you were given by culture or by your family.
Mm-hmm. And it's absolutely okay to take the recipe that you were given by your family and take some elements of it and turn it into your own thing.
Yeah.
So I love a Christmas tree. Yes, that is Christianity co-opting paganism and a bunch of other things and Germanic
Yeah.
traditions and a whole bunch of other things that we can go into. So there's some of that co-opting. Well, I'm co-opting it back and I'm taking this thing that I want to do and make sure that it gives me, because every time I see a light up tree, it just brings me
Mm.
joy. I can sit and stare. It doesn't even have to have a lot of shiny ornaments on it, but there's something about the lit up tree that just speaks to my soul on a different level. And I can just sit there staring at it like I would stare into a fire. It just means that much to me.
Tree or no tree, for me, the lights really make the season of winter bearable. I love the twinkly lights everywhere that we light up, because the sun goes down so much earlier
Hmm.
this time of year, and we don't have as much sunlight, and especially if we're having, overcast,
Hmm.
colder, dreary, stormy days. I don't mind the rain, but like that gray
Hmm.
cold that just sits there can be soul exhausting.
Hmm.
But I love lights as decorations, and there's so many different twinkly kind of lights that
Hmm.
indoor, outdoor, both, all of the above. I love looking at lights. I love driving, so like this time of year, going for a nice drive to see the lights.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like I said, because I'm a kitchen witch. I love baking, so I love making little treats and
Yeah.
other things as well. Even if I don't have a place to take them, I will try. Okay, I say this, and I will try to make a small batch. It never ends up being a small batch. I don't know how to make things small,
That's when you start like taking it into work or giving it to
but
your neighbors or.
exactly. But again, there's lots of different things, and there's again, we've talked many times in past episodes about different traditions that we've created for
Yeah.
the different holidays and the holy days and stuff, and with that are centered to me around Yule, which has become a much more important holiday than Christmas has.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
again, ultimately, there's so many different things, and again, your mileage may vary on what tradition you believe in or follow, but ultimately, take what serves you, leave the rest.
Yep.
And
And along that line, don't feel guilty when you say no to the obligatory invites. If you feel
yes.
a sense of obligation, oh, I am obligated to be there even though I hate it. It's terrible for me and have to take days to recover, or I have to be drunk in order to stand being around my family. Like, guess what? You don't have to go.
Hmm.
You know is a whole sentence. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't have to feel guilty about it. If there are toxic situations that you feel obligated to be there, guess what? You're not. You don't have to do it. You are a human of your own free will. There may be consequences, but also those don't have to be your problem either. That can just be, people can have their feelings about it however they want, but you get to make this time of year what you need it to be. And that is a huge self-care
Hmm.
sometimes. To know opting out can be a level of self-care that's, master level.
Hmm. And if you can't get past the obligation and you need to go, it's okay to acknowledge the uncomfortable.
Mm.
You know that this is going to be horrible. So, but you're doing this for XYZ reasons that are personal to you. Again, I
Mm-hmm.
agree. If you ideally, you should just say no. But if for some reason you honestly feel in your heart you can't say no, acknowledge the uncomfortable, but don't let it drive you, right?
Mm.
Disengage.
Yeah.
It's
The
okay.
per
If Uncle Jerry starts talking about shit that doesn't belong to you, it's okay to say, you know what? I need to go get a drink. and go grab a water or go grab something, use the restroom, whatever you may be. It's okay to disengage. It's okay to step outside. It's okay to do a lot of different things. And just the thing is, the mindset is don't let it get to you. You know that you're going into this uncomfortable. So armor
Yeah.
yourself and say, you know what? This is a tough one. I know this is going to be an obnoxious situation that I'm going to get through for the next 4 hours, but I am choosing not let what is going to happen bother me. I'm going to
Yeah.
disengage.
You can choose to disengage. Yeah, did you have an Uncle Jerry? Because I had an Uncle Jerry, and you just pulled that out of nowhere. So I'm just like,
I
oh,
I actually did not have an Uncle Jerry.
okay, well, thanks.
Sorry. No, my
It's just
partner was
funny.
talking about Tom and Jerry Converses the other day, and that was literally the first name that popped into my head for uncle.
Well, when you said the words Uncle Jerry, I'm like, Uncle Jerry! Like, I remember having an Uncle Jerry. It just brought back a childhood memory.
Sorry. I hope your Uncle Jerry was awesome and not a horrible Uncle Jerry.
Uh, uh
Okay. But yeah, disengage.
disengage. And then acknowledge that mindset that you want to be in and think of ways that you can support that mindset. So you know that this can be emotionally draining. You know that something can be hard. So you could kind of, with some forethought, manufacture things that are going to help get you through it, or things, what mindset do you want to go into this? Do I want to celebrate this holy day, this tradition, this, with family in happiness? Do I want to engage in some nostalgia and do the traditional family stuff? What is it that I like about going to this thing and celebrating in this way? And how can I make sure that, I have that special moment for myself? Prepare yourself.
Yes. There's also the flip side to that is get away. If you know that you recently lost someone close to you or in your family and the traditions that you used to do for some reason this year can't. Really good example again is getting a divorce without being a death in the family. You suddenly have gone from this tradition of going over to splitting holidays, the families and stuff, and now you don't.
Yeah.
You could absolutely be grieving that. We talked about that before, but now maybe that new tradition is, instead of going over to your ex-mother-in-law's house for Christmas, maybe you go to a restaurant on your own, or you go to a restaurant with your friends or family or something else, or maybe you get away. Maybe you decide, you know what, I'm going to go to Cabo for Christmas.
Yep.
And you get away and you do something different that
Yeah.
serves what you need. And that's totally okay too, if you have that, to do that. Don't feel that you have to holiday in a place that is holding really hard emotions for you if you can't deal with that right now.
Yep. Especially like when there's a, loss in the family that's still very raw. And you don't want to do what you've always done, because it's like that absence would be felt even harder, especially that first year. So do something completely different. Go somewhere else. Travel, spend it with other family. And that brings me to this one, which is, I know the holidays can be hard for a lot of people, especially if they feel very alone or they don't have someone to celebrate with. And you don't have to be alone if you don't want to be on the holidays. I think people tend to feel more generous and communal minded when it comes to, taking into consideration that the holidays can be hard for people and that it's not great to just be alone if you don't want to be. So I think that if you are in that position where you're like, I'm really bummed out because I don't have anybody to celebrate with and I don't have anywhere to go, take a leap of faith and ask your community, ask friends of friends, ask if there's a community gathering somewhere. Get on the social medias and look for events. I guarantee that there is somebody out there who is communally minded that wouldn't want to see one of our queer witchy folk depressed, spending the holiday all by themselves because their family doesn't accept them or respect them. So reach out, find some people to be with.
Or start one, because again, by the same token, if you're not feeling this, someone else is. So maybe you say, we're going to have on Christmas Day, we are going to meet, I would say at a park, but oftentimes I say that being in California where you can actually generally go to parks on Christmas Day because it's warm enough, whereas a lot of the world you can't. But go someplace that is open and I would say we're going to have a knitting meetup. We're going to have a book reading thing where we're just going and being together and having a cup of coffee and we're celebrating this
Mm,
and doing that kind of thing. Because I guarantee that if you posted that on your social media with people that you know, there's going to be someone who says, I want to do that with you.
yeah.
Or a
Yeah.
friend, and make it an open event, make it someplace again public where people can go. There will be people who show up, and if not, then you know what? You found a nice coffee shop with a book and spent some time that you scheduled out for your day that you can sit and focus and not on everything around it and just
Mm.
enjoy that thing.
Yeah, and sometimes, new traditions take time to grow.
Yes.
So you just got to get the word out there and take, like I said, that leap of faith. But, just don't think that your only option is to be depressed and by yourself. That's not your only option.
Mm-mm.
And there are a lot of people who want to help, but they don't know how, or they don't know that you need an invitation. So, sometimes if you just mention it somewhere, like, I'm looking at a very lonely holiday, but if people want my company, let me know because I'd like to find somewhere I can be and people I can be with in the spirit of this, whatever
Mm-hmm.
tradition, holiday. And I bet there's somebody out there
Mm-hmm.
who, like you said, who's either feeling the same way or who have felt that way and have been invited in and knows what the treasure, the gift that is, and are willing to extend it to you. So don't be afraid to
Absolutely.
ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Also,
we've
don't be afraid to stay home.
no.
If it's too much for you and you want to be alone and you don't want to engage in the traditions or the holiday or the stress or the obligations, which we've already said, no is a whole sentence, you can take that time for yourself and do that ritual, do that self-care, do that spiritual check-in.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked a lot about the stress for the holidays that are coming up, but self-care is something that you should be doing all the time throughout the
Yeah.
course of the year. So with that idea, because I know we're coming up, we're right in the middle of holiday season in the hubbub, which is why we kind of put this topic here. But outside of this time of year, there are so many different things that we should focus on Spellcraft and which is self-care throughout the course of the year, because stress is not a holiday only thing.
Yeah. Life.
Life, you're not getting out
Life
of it
is
alive.
or stress-free, but we can try.
Right. So, what are some easy practices or easy rituals and things that you could do throughout any time of year, not just
Okay.
holidays?
Okay, so we did mentioned the bath, the soaking
Mm-hmm.
in water, but even just a shower, a cleansing shower, but also like a spiritually cleansing shower where you do something, you kind of, sometimes people call it an everything shower where you
Mm-hmm.
go in and you moisturize and you shave things, but you also like use all the good products or you get purposefully some intentional, like, special products to use that is meant to be like a spiritually cleansing bath or shower or and you could do this before an event or after an event or both.
Mm-hmm.
It'll help cleanse the energy or it can help take away your ugh,
Mm-hmm.
and wash it away before you show up so that you can show up somewhere super fresh.
Right. And by the same token, if you were just at a place that gave you a bunch of ick, going home and washing off all the ick is great. So, yeah,
Yep.
before and after, fabulous.
Yes, because
Um,
showers can be energetically cleansing as well as
Absolutely.
physically cleansing.
And then I mentioned already the tea and coffee ritual, and like I said, that is one that I hands down swear by. That was one of the first things that my therapist at the time taught me
Mm.
when I was going through a divorce and trying to get all that kind of stuff. That was the first thing I learned is how much time do you taking for yourself? Okay,
I
I don't have an answer for that. What you're gonna do is take 5 minutes. You're gonna make a cup of tea. You're gonna drink a glass of water, but you're gonna do it mindfully, and it makes such a huge difference.
That means that you intent with intention, you brew the tea and you sit with it and you take in the smell and you take in the warmth and you take in the taste and
Hmm.
you're not on your phone.
Yeah.
You're not listening to the podcast. I mean, you
N-
can, but like seriously, 5 minutes is all you need
mhm,
to just sit with that intention with yourself, and it can do wonders for
mhm.
your. It's amazing what can come up when you still your mind enough to, free yourself from many of the distractions.
Exactly.
So one of my favorite holiday things is, we do eat and I do enjoy certain foods and I
I love
have
food.
favorites. So making your favorite food or food that you loved growing up that's gonna, invoke some nostalgia,
Hmm.
even if nobody else likes it, it's just your thing.
Yeah.
But, make yourself that favorite dish or make somebody else's favorite dish for them.
Hmm.
That's definitely an act of love, but it can be an act of self-care, especially if you're making sure that if you have like a restrictive diet that you're going to have food safe and healthy for you
Yeah.
or emotionally attached.
Right. And it can be, like, I love the idea of doing it even if no one else likes it. If you're just making, because again, we're talking about self-care. You don't
Yeah.
have to bring it to the potluck. You can make something just for yourself. But you can just make something for yourself, and that's okay. Even if no one in your household likes it, you can still make something just for
Yep.
you that works for you.
I don't
And
mind
that's
eating a week's worth of leftovers of my favorite foods.
right. Or you can try to make it in a smaller batch, but like I
That
said,
is not how I was taught to
I,
cook.
I again, I say that knowing that I cannot do this, but I have
Yeah.
heard that there are people who are able to do this kind of thing
I
and
can
make
just
things in small batches, but I have not come across those mythical unicorns. But so I have heard that they exist. But yeah, so if not, modern convenience gives us access to freezers.
exactly. Have some for now and a little bit for later.
Exactly.
One of the things that I feel is kind of a magic in and of itself. I know we
Hmm.
kind of did a whole episode on this, but like music can tap me into certain moods. So if I am going to holiday gatherings and I do have to kind of shore up my,
Hmm.
antisocial energy to handle whatever event I'm attending, I can purposefully, intentionally set up a playlist that will help ground me, invoke a certain mood. So I can listen to music that I love or that, makes me feel connected to the season or the reason or just any time of the year. Again, music will help set the mood and I will ritualistically create
Hmm.
playlists that are meant to unfold a particular mood. Driving music is a big one for me. Like just go
Hmm.
put on my driving music and go for a drive. Sometimes the drive there and home are the best parts of the evening.
Hmm. Same thing with the podcast. If you know there's a particular podcast that puts you in a mood,
Like
anything
this
like
one.
that.
I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, they're definitely different things that can put you in a mood for where you're going. And music, listening to something, just shoring up the experience, getting you ready to go. I also love crafting or thrifting.
Mm,
In the sense I'm looking for decorations that speak to me on a personal level, not necessarily on a societal or a heteronormative level. So I will find the things that I just think are cool or cute or whimsical or whatever and use those as my decorations, even if they don't match. I will never have the beautiful Martha Stewart, Better Homes and Gardens, I would say Princess House, but all the old cartoon things that you see in movies where everything perfectly
right.
matches and it's all incredibly fashionable and stylized and elegant. That is just not who I am. I am kitschy. I am whimsical and weird, and the decorations around me reflect that.
Yeah.
And I am totally okay with that. And so I will look for those things that speak to me on that level and I will craft them. I love making things to put up and put around. I love making wreaths, all that kind of stuff to do.
Well, and I love the idea of crafting as a form of self-care,
Hmm.
as a magical form of self-care, because that is literally tapping into your creative energy. And it's
Hmm.
like such a good energy flow to have that getting crafty can just be that's you setting aside time, having a project to work on, having a goal in mind, something that's once it's done going to bring you
Hmm.
pleasure or maybe becomes a gift for somebody. But crafting can definitely be an amazing form of self-care.
Absolutely. Knitting, crocheting,
Yeah.
all of that, puzzling, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Also, look at making your own traditions with
Yeah.
around, again, we're kind of, and this is kind of touching back on the holiday aspect of it, but even if your summer tradition is to go to the beach, make a day to go to the beach. It doesn't necessarily have to be a winter or a holiday thing. Maybe you decide that, you know what? I am deciding that today is Art Appreciation Day, and I'm going to put this on my calendar. This is a made up holiday just for me. And every 17th of March, I go to a museum and I look at art. You can make up those traditions for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. You can anything like that allows you to self-care on a level because now you're taking something that's deeply spiritual to you and making time for it. And you're making time for it on a regular basis, yearly, monthly, quarterly, however much that
Mhm.
is for you, but make a time and do it periodically.
And take some of your everyday magic, like
Mhm,
cutting and clearing ritual or abundance magical work, and make it a part of your spiritual tradition for a
mhm,
certain, if it's the right time of year, for abundance magic, like harvest season,
mhm,
maybe do some kind of harvest season ritual or abundance magical work that, helps you draw in or manifest what you want for the coming year
mhm,
or next season's harvest, or align it. You can make your traditions by using your magical tools, your
mhm.
Rolodex of magical tools, and incorporating them to become a holiday tradition.
Right. And even if it's not a holiday tradition, cutting and clearing is a fantastic way to self care. It's
Yeah.
to really truly let go of the thing that is holding you back and to
Yep.
redirect that energy. That's again focusing on the energetics aspect towards yourself. You are taking in that self care aspect when you are letting go of the things that aren't serving you.
Yep. And then there's the whole, having a gathering. Invite over
Mhm,
some magically minded folks, people who will do this kind of work with you. And, that's part of making your own traditions and self-care. It can be allowing for setting aside time for connection, for
mhm.
community. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. And it doesn't have to be Martha Stewart or Home and Gardens, but just having a friend or two come over for,
Have a house blessing. Maybe you've
yeah.
already lived there for 15 years. Doesn't matter. It's like, you know what? This house needs to be refreshed. Let's do a bless
Yep.
and bring in that energy, bring in those things. Again, it's the idea of the movement of the old, get it out to bring in space for what you
Hmm.
need to bring in.
And we talk about traditions and holidays, and it makes me think of our ancestors and
Hmm.
ancestry work. And that can also be a level of self-care where you go into ancestry work looking at healing the wounds of your ancestors, the wounds that you've inherited through your ancestry line, and how, maybe some of their wounds got trickled down to you and how they manifest in your life. And a lot of self-care could be dissecting wounds and, doing healing work around that. And part of it can begin with ancestor work of connecting with your ancestors and thinking, what are the patterns that I see in family histories that can be addressed and healed and worked on and nurtured.
Hmm. And starting with that, if there's anger centric around something like that, absolutely getting out what that anger is, finally speaking your mind, speaking your piece. Even if that someone has passed on or you don't have access to them and everything else, you can still speak it. You can say it out loud. You can scream it in your head. You can write it down. But saying that piece for that spiritual ancestral work or that person work or something else, whatever you need to do to clear it and let it go will help you then find the connection to your ancestors. And I'm speaking a lot of ways when we're talking about ancestral negative energy. I had a friend who committed suicide when I was in my mid 20s. And same thing, I had a lot of really negative energy that was just really hard because I had a whole lot of really complex emotions wrapped up in this person. There was a lot
Mm-hmm.
of, it was a very, very complicated friendship, love, a bunch of different things. So there was a lot of confusion and complication around their death. And so what finally let me go is having a dream where I just laid into them about everything that I wanted to tell them and didn't when I was younger. And
Mm-hmm.
waking up from that dream was catharsis. And that happened to me in a dream, but you can do the same thing, having that catharsis with writing it, burning it, all that kind of thing
Yep.
to help your emotional state. And that's what self-care
Right.
is to help your emotional state around something.
It's almost like an emotional and mental cleansing,
Hmm.
purging. That can be self-care because, sometimes we don't know what's living in there until we go
Yes,
spelunkling through it.
exactly. Exactly. And that can lead to working with the ancestors. And again, I love the idea of ancestral healing when you're ready to dissect what
Yeah.
caused, when you've gotten past the anger and now you're ready to dissect the trauma that caused the actions of that person. That is absolutely those next steps for
Yeah.
ancestral work. Don't be afraid to scream it out.
Ah! I have a friend who's doing a smash room for her birthday. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, that sounds fun. Also, at any given point in time, we talk about year ahead reviews. Guess what? You can do a year ahead reading any calendar day of the year. It does not have to be on
Year.
Samhain. It doesn't have to be on New Year's. It doesn't have to be on a certain holiday. You can just say, it doesn't have to be on your birthday. You can just say, you know what? Today, again, is August 17th. I want to know what's going to happen until next August 17th.
Mm-hmm.
And getting that idea of a year ahead review
Mm-hmm.
can
Being
be
able
really
to
important.
get like a prediction of the things change. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just look good to look that the energy is going to change. It won't always feel this way, And if you're someone like me who struggles to read for themselves, you can always find a trusted
Mm-hmm.
and responsible practitioner who will sit down with you and have that conversation with you and do that for you.
Yes.
Yeah. But I do know they tend to run specials around certain times
Yes.
of the year. So
There generally is an area that we tend to focus on as new. So year heads focus around that time.
But it's really just a new level of the same cycle.
Exactly. It's just a changeover of a day, just on a slightly grander scale, because we have determined that this is now a new calendar cycle.
And also, make plans. Put some of the big things in your calendar, even just setting aside time, an hour or two, where you are sitting down and you're planning your year and putting things in your calendar and making things that you want to look forward to happen, or making plans. Choose the future that you want to live in the next year. That's a huge act of self-care, of making plans for the future. It's literally saying that I believe that there will be a future for me.
Mm-hmm.
Which can be a big deal in times like these.
Yes. But no, I agree. Absolutely. And especially if you know you're someone who has a hard time remembering dates, birthday dates, things like that, you know what? Put those in the calendar. That way, when you're looking at your calendar, you can see that, oh, yeah, my best friend's birthday is coming up. I want to make sure that I say something or acknowledge it. Or I love the idea, like you said, of a vacation, knowing I am going to take a vacation this next year for myself, whether it's a getaway for a weekend. I don't know where or when yet. Put a day in there. Put an arbitrary day in the calendar. And that way, as you're getting close to it, you can say, oh, that's right. I said I was going to go on vacation on that day. Can I still take a vacation on that day? Or now, on those days, now do I need to reassess it? Because otherwise, if you don't put it on there, you'll get to October and realize, I didn't take any time off this year.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
didn't
okay
to do anything for myself. I just do all of these things for other people.
for other people. So put those things in your calendar. That way, you're making yourself a priority.
Agreed.
And then the other thing that I was, again, circling back to the actual holidays thing, because again, like I said, we're coming close to a bunch of different holidays.
We're in the holiday season.
We are in the holiday season. This is where it gets a little bit challenging, but self-care is also a little bit of tough love, especially if you are like us, of Caucasian descent, and learning to really acknowledge the history around a lot of the holidays, and learning to acknowledge that something that's positive for you could absolutely be a completely negative or opposite experience for someone else.
Yep. There is a lot of colonialism and forcing people to abandon their traditional beliefs in favor of the secularly approved holiday traditions that have happened and caused generations of trauma. People being forced to abandon their beliefs in order to be accepted in celebrating what, the overculture agrees is the right thing or whatever. And your beliefs may not align with the secular holidays, traditions and stuff, and you can do some unpacking around that. For example, the whole people who say Merry Christmas and you have to say Merry Christmas to me back, you can't say Happy Holidays, otherwise I'm going to get angry. It's like, come on, people. This variety of the spice is the spice of life, and there is a variety of holidays and traditions at this time of year, and I want us erring on the side of inclusiveness and not like my way or the highway attitude.
And I think of, again, in the U.S. American tradition around Thanksgiving, and the
Right.
idea of we're giving thanks for the pilgrims, the Native Americans and the pilgrims getting together and sharing this feast and something that was helpful, which again,
I tend to call that American mythology.
yes, but there's again this idea and this tradition about giving thanks and then not acknowledging all the genocide and all the horrific things that actually were involved afterwards and around the same time, and a lot of what led from into the other. So it's romanticizing history in a way that is not, again, falls into the idea of colonialism, and learning to disengage from the narrative that you were told and really look at the facts and look at the history.
Right.
And yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah.
It is not fun. It is not pleasant in any way, shape, or form, but it is self-care work. And even more importantly, it's world care work to be able to acknowledge what had happened, to make amends as you can for what happened, but mostly to listen and hear the voices and hold space and do what you can to help for the various things that have happened that will help towards healing ancestral cultural wounding. All of those things. So tough love self-care is a thing that also is incredibly important.
Yep. And, just that downright honesty with yourself. And even if that's the excuse you have to use to disengage from something that you don't feel is healthy, it's important to take those things into consideration. And the last thing I want to say here is I just want to reiterate that holiday is supposed to be a holy day. It's supposed to be sacred. It's supposed to be something that's outside of the norm, set aside as something special, where we do traditions but also acts of self-care. If a particular holiday doesn't resonate with you, you do not have to participate. And making the choice to actively not participate in things that will cause you harm or has caused you harm or has harmed others is the ultimate act of self-love and self-care.
Absolutely. So be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Remember yourself. Take time for yourself.
Yeah. And make it special for you.
Absolutely.
In your own way. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Queer Witch Project on this lovely topic of self-care and magic work. And if you like what you heard, make sure you give us some thumbs up and, stars and subscriptions and comments. And we really like hearing from you. And you can always share with us what your holiday traditions are. Which ones have you created?
Please. And remember, if there's a topic you want to know more about or an episode topic you'd like to suggest, contact us at thequeerwitchproject@gmail.com or find us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram with the handle @queerwitchproject. We upload every other week. And remember, queerness is a key to magic.
Be yourself and love rebelliously.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Take care.